Hey everyone, hope you're all doing good this fine October. Well, this has been an interesting year for animation, and I certainly have been talking about some interesting films this year. And this one is definitely a fascinating one, because I'm going to be talking about a documentary today, which I've never done before on here. But hey, there's a first for everything. So, yeah, we have a documentary. It's called Piece by Piece, and it's about Pharrell Williams and his musical career told entirely through Lego. And this is a film that on the surface seems strange and could scream to be a vanity project. Though this was actually a film I was modestly curious about, not because it was a new Lego film, but mainly because the director involved was Academy Award winner Morgan Neville. When I heard he was directing the film, that instantly got my attention, as he's made some terrific documentaries, including the Oscar-winning 20 Feet from Stardom about the lives and experiences of backup singers from famous songs, as well as the very terrific Won't You Be My Neighbor, which was about Fred Rogers. So yeah, hearing that an animated documentary was coming from him instantly got me intrigued, especially regarding Pharrell, whose music I do like. But I know what you're all thinking. Why is this told in Lego? My guess is that it was a rights thing. For those that don't know, the film rights to Lego were initially owned by Warner Brothers, and the result pumped out 4 animated theatrical films, including the terrific Lego movie, the very fun Lego Batman movie, the disappointing Lego Ninjago movie, and the good but not great Lego Movie 2, the second part. And while I and most critics did like 3 of those 4 films, only the first one was really a big financial hit. And when the Lego Movie 2 underperformed, Warner Brothers gave up the rights, which were eventually acquired by Universal. And since they've acquired them, they've done nothing with the rights until this film, which was released under their Focus Features label. I do believe they probably told this story because it seemed cool, and Pharrell didn't want to make another standard musical biopic, which I get. I don't want to see more films that are like the frustrating Bohemian Rhapsody anyway. But I personally believe that this was simply for Universal to do something with the Lego rights before they expire next year. So, that's how we got this. And for what it's worth, it did look promising and fun. Certainly didn't seem like a film made before the studio lost the rights or a vanity project, but rather an interesting documentary and about an acclaimed musician. And yeah, that's what I got. This was a pretty solid film. Okay, I'm not going to go out of my way and say this is one of the best musical documentaries or animated documentaries I've ever seen, because it's not. But for what it's worth, there's a lot of energy and creativity present in this that does make it an enjoyable watch. I don't think this is going to win any awards, and it's certainly not going to stack up to the best documentaries made by Morgan Neville, but I think that this is a film that is still pretty fun at the end of the day. Okay, so how do I talk about this? I mean, usually with the films I review, I start off talking about what the film's narrative is before going into my thoughts on the story, animation, and characters, but I can't do that with this since it's a documentary. But I do think I can give it my best try since I do have a lot to say. So, as you can tell, this is a film that is indeed about Pharrell Williams, and I'm fairly certain you know who he is. He's a musical genius who's the mastermind behind some of the biggest songs of the 2000s, having produced them as part of the production duo The Neptunes. You probably also know that he's also done the songs for the Despicable Me series, including the most recent one, which included the song Double Life. And that was a good song. Honestly, it was way better and did not deserve to be in the film it was attached to, which I've already rambled about back in July, but I digress. Anyway, the film basically details his career, from his early days in Virginia Beach, his inspiration and love of music, his breakthrough work with New Jack Swing producer Teddy Riley, rising up in the Neptunes, a creative slump, and his eventual rejuvenation. All complete with a handful of Talking Heads interviews from the likes of Jay-Z, Snoop Dogg, Gwen Stefani, Justin Timberlake, and Kendrick Lamar. So, yeah, it's not the most groundbreaking documentary out there. We've seen musical documentaries and biopics that are like this before, and some of the information we do get is stuff that I've seen other artists talk about, like the encouragement to go for their pursuits from other family members, and in the case of Pharrell, was his grandmother. Though the information presented here is still interesting, and I do think the message it showcases is pretty strong. Like, yeah, it's your standard be true to yourself message and not to lose sight on your passion, but it's presented from an honest point of view, and it does come across as inspirational. When Pharrell gets into his very bad creative slump when he was being told what to do by others and getting pushed away from people, it is a little heartbreaking. I can tell this was a dark time based on the way he described it, and it's also interesting to see how the people around him came to his side. Because one thing I did find interesting is how he was embraced by the music industry and the artists that he worked with, since he had a different background but had such a genius skill with music that brought people together. And yeah, his music really popped out of those speakers. The film has great sound mixing, and it really helps makes those songs shine. Plus, it was also cool to see him talk about the impact that songs that he's worked on, like Happy and Kendrick Lamar's All Right, have had on the public, and how they became bigger symbols than he could have imagined. And I still remember when they came out. I remember how massive Happy was 10 years ago. Hell, it was nominated for an Oscar. But I will say this, the one thing that helps give this film its identity is, well, the fact that it's a Lego movie. This is the film's glue. Because if this was a standard documentary shot in live action, I don't think that it would be getting the attention or praise it's getting. The fact that this story is told in animation helps give Neville, as well as the filmmakers, the freedom to play around with some creative imagery to showcase Pharrell's journey and emotions. Like, the way it shows them developing beats are through these little clumps of colorful Lego bricks, and I think that's a cool way to show it. And yeah, the imagery really makes an impact with the colors, like in the opening scene where we see a young Pharrell get inspired by music off of Songs in the Key of Life by Stevie Wonder. That was a cool image. Though the imagery that really stands out is some of the weird ones in the film, cause there are some insane yet funny imagery shown in this animation. If you told me that this would be a year where we get a Lego-fied version of the music video for Rump Shaker, complete with minifigures and bikinis, I would not believe you. But yeah, it's there. And wait, there's more. Other imagery included a crazy moment where Pharrell is drifting in space and eventually sees in the stars an image of Carl Sagan, almost as if he were the Star Child from 2001. It's an image that is strange, but is kind of hilarious, and there's even more stuff like that in the film. Another image I did find pretty funny is when Pharrell was trying to figure out the music for Despicable Me 2, and the way it shows the people from Illumination is just Lego-fied versions of the Minions. That was also pretty genius. And I will say that the film's animation is simply great, as to be expected. Much like the previous LEGO movies, this was animated again by Animal Logic, and like always, they bring their A-grade in creating computer animation that looked like stop motion. I miss seeing this, and I was glad to see it again. Now, as I stated, this is not what I would call a great documentary. It's good, but it does have its drawbacks. To me, a great documentary really is about how much you can put in regarding your subject and how much your audience can take away from it. And while I did get something out of this, I was expecting more. The film doesn't really dive very deep into Pharrell's creative process, nor does it really scratch the surface on a lot of his failures. It talks about his creative slump, being led down a dark path by people in suits, as well as even a flop single by Pusha T, but that's really it. Most of it is positive stuff. And I kind of expected it. I was bound to hear Gwen Stefani talk about Hella Good and Hollaback Girl, but not wind it up. Though, I will say this, there is one song that's a notable failure by Pharrell that is played in the film, but not talked about, and I was really shocked. And that's Blurred Lines. Like, I'm glad the film does not talk about its disgusting lyrics, its controversial music video, or crazy plagiarism lawsuit, but I do not understand why Pharrell approved of having it over a montage of him working with fashion deals. That was strange. Like, if you're gonna put an infamous song you worked on, like Blurred Lines, in your film, I kind of expect you to talk about it. Though, there might be a reason why the film doesn't talk a whole lot about some of the creative processes or dark moments. It was rated PG. I remember getting the trailer for this in front of Despicable Me 4, and I was kind of surprised. And I can say the rating is both a blessing and a curse. For one, I do think that its censorship does lead to some laughs, like when Pharrell and his producing partner Chad Hugo visit Snoop Dogg, and someone sprays quote-unquote PG spray into the room that makes them loopy. That was funny. Though, I found it strange that the film does have some profanity, and some of it was censored, and some of it wasn't. I'm not sure why they went for this rating. I'm guessing it was because they wanted the film to be more accessible to younger audiences, but I kind of think this is a film that should have gone more for a PG-13. This is the kind of story that is a little bit more mature than, say, for your average 10-year-old. But regardless, I do think the film is still solid at the end of the day, and it's what makes Piece by Piece a fun little documentary. While it doesn't fully peel away the layers of Pharrell, and its PG rating does limit it, the film is still a fun documentary that benefits from its Lego animation, as well as the great tunes that makes it an interesting story about a cool musician. If you're a fan of Pharrell, I'd recommend this, and I would also give it a watch for a cool take on a documentary. So with that, I think I'll give Piece by Piece an 8. Overall, pretty solid film. I don't think this is gonna win any major awards, but at the end of the day, I can't deny I still had a good time with this. Good animation, good music, good story, and all the good pieces to make it a pretty good time.
Wow, wow, wow. Man, this is gonna be a Lego movie, bruh.